Hi, this video is to show you how to answer question number 6 in MATLAB tutorial 2. So let's see what the question is asking for. The question here is asking you to write a program which receives as input the daily daytime temperature over any given number of days and in a vector form, and then outputs the vector of the day-to-day temperature variations. And there is an example here to show you what is meant by the inputs and outputs. So for the input, there is an example of a vector D, which had 4 different values of temperatures for 4 days. And the output is delta T, the vector delta T, which had only 3 values. And also to help you answer this question, there's a hint at which asking you to recall what end does. You already learned in the tutorial 2 what is end and how to use it. Also, you could use the function length. So let's describe this in more details. So the input to your program will be a vector T, which contains the temperature values for a number of days. So we have temperature T1, T2, and so on till Tn. So we have the number of days here is n, which is also the number of elements in vector T. The output to your program, or from your program, will be a vector delta T. So delta T is the variation in temperature values on day-to-day basis. So to determine the vector T, we have to subtract the temperature values of each day from the next day or from the following day. So to do this, we should use a vector of temperature values starting from T2, the second element, or the temperature of the second day, till Tm, minus the vector of temperature values starting from the temperature T1 of the first day and ends by Tn minus 1, which is the day just before the last day. So in this case, delta T will be equal to the temperature from day 2 minus the temperature from day 1, and temperature from day 3 minus temperature from day 2, and so on until the temperature from the last day Tn minus the temperature from the day before Tn minus 1. So please note here that the length of the input vector T is equal to n. So n, or the length, is the number of elements in vector T. But the length of the vector delta T is n minus 1. So we have n minus 1 number of elements in the vector delta T. Also, we already know from the notes that end means the index of the last element in the vector. So end for the vector T is equal to n. But if we do the same for the vector delta T, end will be equal to n minus 1. So n is equal to the length of the vector. Now let's see how we can do this in MATLAB. As we already know, we have to start a new script to write our program. So the first step in the program is to insert the input, which is the vector of the temperature. For this, we will use the function input. So t equal input of, and here I will insert a text or a string that describe what this input is. So daily temperature values in a vector form. Then I would like to calculate the vector delta t. So delta t, again, if we have another look on the whiteboard, delta t will be equal to T2 minus T1, T3 minus T2, or in other words, if we look at the first line, it's the vector of temperature values starting from T2 and ending by Tm minus the vector of temperature starting by T1 and ending by Tn minus 1. So to write this in MATLAB, we can say delta T equal to the temperature, the vector T, but not all the elements of vector T. So I will select specific elements. So the elements we want to use here are the elements starting from 2 till end, the last element of T, minus the vector T, but again, not all the elements. It will be the elements starting from 1 to the element n minus 1. Then we can display the output. So we use the function display, as we have learned before. So we can say day to day temperature variation are, and then we display the vector delta t. So we need to save this program. I will name it temperature, and then we run it. So it's asking us now to insert the daily temperature values in a vector form. So I will use the same value as given in the example. So 33, 28, 30, and 25. and then press enter. So these are the day-to-day temperature variation, -5 to -5. Let's check this with the example. -5 to -2, it's correct. So then the other way of solving this question or writing this program is to use the function length. So to use this, we have to add a line here after we define the input vector t, and we can say n equal length of t. So n is the number of elements in vector t. And instead of using n, we will replace it by n. And then save and run it. Before this, I will clear the workspace and the command window and run the program. So the inputs again, 23, 28, 13, and 25. So we have a new variable here, n equal to 4, the number of elements of vector t, and the day-to-day temperature variation are the same. So remember, you can terminate this line, the variable n, by adding a semicolon at the end. So these are two alternatives to solve or to write this program. You can choose either. So finally, this was the solution for question number 6 of the MATLAB tutorial, MATLAB tutorial 2. Thank you.